Many of you may know, melee weapons are a thing in Fallout 4, and I have yet to have a dedicated video to one, nor have I used them frequently when playing the game casually. I thought now is no better time than to lose my melee virginity, as I strive to find out whether or not you can beat Fallout 4 with only the Furious Power Fist. Starting in Sanctuary, I created my masterpiece. My eyes! My eyes! And I assigned my special stat, putting a 7 in strength for obvious reasons, also putting a 5 in perception, endurance and agility, while putting a 4 in luck so I could idiot savant perk early on. With that the world ended, and we became frozen TV dinners once again. Mr. Cornflakes stole my son, and I was welcomed back into the world of the living. Tracking the roaches within the vault is just trivial to me by now, and I returned topside. I used the I'm Special book to put another point into strength, making sure to pick up the Grognet book so melee attacks would do 5% more damage. Now I should say how I'm going to get the Furious Power Fist, and that would be everyone's favourite big brain man, Swan. Yes, I am aware this would invalidate the run, but this is the only way to get Furious Power Fist to my knowledge. And as you can see from this video being up, I chose to continue the run. It's not about how you get the weapon, it's about the journey. So yeah, to make my life easier, in the long run, I began the process of dismantling Sanctuary. Speed running carpal tunnel syndrome, as I spammed shelves and that. This will catapult me to level 10, where I chose some perk that would help me dearly. With that all being said and done, I made my way to Concord to procure myself a set of power armor, as I thought it was unwise to face one without protection. Luckily, not having to go through all the raid, as true professor fashion, there's more than one way to reach your destination, intent or not. Being able to scale the church next to the museum, right to the top, I jumped onto the crash vertibird, landing there. Having took a fusion core from Morat's Den before coming up here, I took the power armor and began my journey to Swan. Along my journey, I came across Wolfgang and Trudy, who were having some sort of dispute. I tried to reason with them, that sadly led to gunfire, of which I did not participate and promptly hid, but looking quite funny due to my suit power armor. Trudy then finished her job. I traded for some caps and continued on my way, stopping off at the bypass near Cambridge to grab a new set of power armor and another fusion core. Reaching Swan, I made sure to grab the Grognet book nearby, which makes melee attacks do 5% more damage, and then began the beatdown, dancing around him as I tried to get hits off. Between his continuous beatings, spamming stim packs as I went, the fight was made much easier when I remembered VATS existed, and I used it, throwing consecutive punches. As long as I was close enough to Swan, he couldn't hit me, whilst in VATS his attacks did not stun me. With this strategy being my epiphany, it led to Swan's demise, as with one final swift punch to his kneecaps, he came crashing down. Coming out victorious, Swan seemed to have some issues, as he got stuck in a curve position. Nevertheless, I ripped my trophy from his still warm body, and I could begin the run with my new toy. Now I needed some participants to test my new weapon out on, and being in the neighbourhood, right round the corner, was the Trigger Men, so I paid them a visit, and I will let this footage speak for itself. It is right to say the Furious Power Fist is a very good weapon, so me not having used melee weapons all that much made me very much so enjoy using melee weapons. Back to the task at hand, I rescued Nick from Dino's clutch by beating him to death. Fighting my way through the vault with Nick, we reached Skinny, where I lacked the charisma skill to talk him down, so I snuck up behind Darla, gave him a good bonk on the head, crippled Skinny, took care of his guard, and then put him to rest. To say this experience made me fall in love with this weapon. Telling Nick I would meet him back at Diamond City, I ignored this, and for some reason decided to go back to Concord. I don't know what I was thinking, as I definitely did not want to side with the Minutemen in this run. I was planning on siding with the railroad. I can only assume I just really wanted to have fun with the weapon. Strolling up to the museum, the raiders inside were a breeze, as they were designed to be beat at the beginning of the game, and don't seem to scale with the player's level. After this mass slaughter, I spoke to Preston, went down to beat up the Death Claw. To my utter bewilderment, this was incredibly easy, as the Death Claw went down in just a few shots. I knew the weapon was good at this point, but this was still a very big shock to me. After taking a moment to take this all in, I then took a trip to Goodneighbor to stock up on healing supplies, and I made my way towards the Old North Church, stopping to fight some super mutants inside Sheldon Hall, as I realised, even though I'd run past this building hundreds of times to find the railroad, I had never been inside. The mutants inside were nothing to write home about though, as I very quickly and efficiently sorted my way through the building. It's what happened when I left the building which was the interesting part, as a super mutant suicide, instead of running for me, saw a couple of wild mongrels, made a beeline towards them, blowing the porpoise sky high. along with the fellow supermutant and his dog. Finally, I reached the Old North Church, putting in the seat code, and against my better judgment, I spoke to Desdemona and told Deacon I would help him out with his mission. Fast travelling to the Drumlin Diner, I had no trouble on my way to Deacon, except for some raiders harassing Carla, which I dealt with swiftly. Meeting up with Deacon, we found our way into the Soulcom show through the sewer, fighting our way through the simps, and collecting the device of Dr. Carrington, only having one spot of bother on the way out due to turrets, with this trip also making it abundantly clear that the refractor perk was a needed addition to my perk if I wanted any chance against the Brotherhood and Institute later. Returning to Desdemona, I turned in the quest and chose my codename Bullseye, and I headed off to help Dr. Carrington with his quest, which was quite simple. Go there, get that, go here, speak to him, clear out here, and follow. But High-Rise had a desire to pick a fight with everyone he possibly could, picking a fight with some nearby supermoons, which, with no surprise, was child's play, as I had just beat up someone rolling my fist. Finally reaching our destination, I sent High-Rise on his way. Going to down the city, I made sure to grab Kowalski from the mayor's safe before talking to Nick. I described the cereal brand to him, searched his house, and made my way towards the fort. Inside was not much different to usual, the main difference being that the annoying melee combat system of Fallout 4 reared its ugly head, as the simps were very easily able to hit me back, staggering me and rotate with their rotating arm attack. This was not too much of a hassle, only getting me killed once. Making it to Kellogg, I spoke to him, ripped out his brain, had fun in his memories, and I was off to the glowing sea. This was fairly uneventful except for a run-in I had with some rad scorpions, but instead of killing them, I just decided to lead them to the crater atom and watch the carnage unfold. After that little mishap, I went and spoke to Virgil, and I was off to Green Tech. Having been close enough by, I fast travelled to Ticonderoga and walked over to Green Tech, with the gunners seemingly more squishy than usual, only being overwhelmed by their superior firepower a couple of times. The only one I had the most issues with was, you guessed it, the one who wields a rocket, dying twice to her barrage, finally getting close, and I executed a critical on her. Now of the courser, I had some drugs in my back pocket, so pumping myself full of jet, and Psycho, I unleashed a VATS attack critical, following up with 2 consecutive strikes, finishing him off. Grabbing the chip, I returned to the railroad, had it decoded, called the plans from Virgil, built the teleporter, and Tom beamed me inside. Immediately, I inserted the holotape into the first terminal I saw, sending a message to Patriot. I then met up with Father, agreed to work with him in secret for the railroad, met up with Patriot and Z1, and they told me I needed their code. I then returned to Desdemona, told her of this, made my way to Cambridge Polymer Lab, as that was where the code was contained. Entering, I shot the tour guide, as I was not going to do all of that. Going into the contamination zone, I thought of the gold, as I tried to remember where the way to the code was. Using my eyeballs, I figured it out, getting the code. I then headed to Libertalia, as I thought I should clear them out first, and cut down on backtracking, as I had done before. I ran up the side of the boat, but this time I had a slight bit of bother with the raider who has the fat man. This was very painful. After the 6th time of being atomized, I quickly engaged VATS, stunning the raider and knocking them clean off the side of the ship. I then was free to kill the others and recall the simp. I then returned to the Institute, gave Patriot the code. He tasked me with helping some simps escape. Even though I was woefully outnumbered, I still strode right up to the simps and began laying down on them with my volley of power with furious intent. Luckily, the simp escapees came to my rescue, and we killed them all, only being lit on fire a little bit. I then spoke to Father. He told me of the good job at Libertalia, completely oblivious to the smackdown that just occurred in his basement. He then told me of the battle that I should attend. I then warned Desdemona, who told me to kill the Corsair at my backup, which I did. And the good thing about doing it this way, I could just go speak to Father and not bother with the battle itself. Speaking to Father, I told him I let the simps go, and I think he might just have dementia, but he proceeded to completely forget that and let me continue working with him anyway.
Bad news!
What?
The synths have escaped.
Oh no! Anyway.
I attended the directorate meeting, where I was tasked with going to Mass Fusion to get the beryllium agitator. Teleporting there, I made sure to grab the keycard. Here is where I had my first taste of fighting the Brotherhood. And I can say it took a while, but it was easy. The main problem I seemed to be coming across was the laser rifles ripping into me. Bearing in mind, by this point I had a level 3 in the refractor perk, so I don't know what to say about that. Well, moving forward, instead of going down the elevator and not being able to defend myself, I jumped off the top of Mass Fusion and down to Good Neighbor. Due to being a load zone, I then exited Good Neighbor, entered Mass Fusion, and grabbed the agitator. The sentry bot was easy enough to take care of, popping in and out of cover, making sure I got as if I was too close. The machine guns would not gun me to death. Taking care of the assaultrons, they were both a joke, going down in 3 shots. Reporting my success to father, I recorded a delightful message for the Commonwealth, kidnapped a man, put the agitator in the reactor, and I was told by Z1 the HQ was under attack. Somehow I returned moments before disaster. I told Desdemona of the incoming attack and that Brotherhood came crashing in. I waited for them to come in and beat down on the knight, causing the power armor to explode. Luckily enough, I got out of the blast radius just in time. The same could not be said for the members accompanying them, as they died in the glorious explosion as well. I then saw Glory dying, and I mean, why should I get attached to her? I've literally done nothing with her. This is supposed to be a sad moment, but who really cares? Anyways, moving forward, I carved a path through the many Brotherhood members with my fist, making it to the top, where I repeated this, turning the knights into works of modern art until Desdemona told me it was time to take the fight to them. Walking straight up to the police station, I'd take the fight to them until I had turned all the Brotherhood outside into blood splatters on the pavement. Heading inside, I repeated this process, giving them all the good whack. Making my way up to the roof, I destroyed the power armor wielding ones and Dinkerton began setting up the vertibird. During this, we were assaulted by another vertibird. I take care of the knights who dropped down with no issues, but I physically cannot hit the bird. With that, I only have decontrol ion. It was monolithically useless, as I went around the circle trying making sure I'm not hit, with me not being able to heal Deacon due to not being a follower. But eventually, he picked up a minigun off one of the dead knights and made short work of the vertibird, almost killing us in the process, but for once being useful. The flight to the Pridman went without a hit, Deacon giving me the Brotherhood armor, which I put on, easily sneaking past the main members, setting up the charges, and blowing the Pridman up without them even knowing. With that, I got the nuclear option, and we were in the endgame now. Desdemona told me of a job well done, and I went back to the Institute. Meeting Z1, he tasked me with killing everyone in the room. I obliged him, teleported the railroad in. Desdemona gave me the charge. We took the fight to the Institute, fighting our way down because I didn't like my odds against all the synths. I set up a sentry bot. Doing my work for me, I ran past him, reaching the main area, where we destroyed all the synths with me putting in very little input due to all the synth rebels helping out, doing most of the work. Made my way up to Father, made sure to be as rude as possible, giving him a good bite or whack on the face, initiated the evacuation. Once this was out of the way, I went straight up to the reactor, strapped the pulse charge on it, was teleported out of there, for once bringing the robot child with me, and then pressed the detonation, and with that I proved, sadly, you cannot beat Fallout 4 with only the Furious Power Fist. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, leave a dislike if you didn't. Comment if you have any suggestions, and I'll see you next time.